Hey everybody, Bert from AstartesGaming here, back with some more coverage for Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord. Today I want to take a look at my personal opinion on what are the top 10 new gameplay features and additions to Bannerlord. So let's go ahead and jump in. So first we have number 10, which is Deeper Factions. And what does that mean? So Deeper Factions, basically, we had sort of fleshed out factions in Warband. The factions all had their own unique culture, they had their own unique units, they had different fighting styles, and they had different architecture. Their lords all had different titles, their characters looked slightly different, but it all felt sort of superficial. In Bannerlord, the cultures and the sort of the depth of the factions has been expanded pretty heavily. For example, the cultures all have unique cities and towns. They'll look completely different. Within those towns, you'll see all different sorts of things and even be able to play culture-specific board games. The backstories of all the different factions have been fleshed out quite a bit more, or at least they will be. We don't know all the information yet. But they look to have a lot more depth than the previous factions from Warband, which hopefully will let us care about them a little bit more, because in Warband, the factions felt like sort of just like reskins on real-world factions that we were already more or less familiar with. So I'm hoping that with the Deeper Factions, we will be more interested in playing the vanilla game rather than just, kind of getting used to the gameplay and then waiting for mods to come out. So next step at number 9, we have character creation. Now, obviously we had character creation in Mount & Blade Warband, however, they've expanded on the character creation that we've, grown to know and love pretty heavily. Now, instead of just being able to customize the character's face, you can actually customize their body type, how muscular or, chubby they are, how tall they are, all kinds of cool stuff. So they've really expanded our options, and I don't think anybody's ever going to complain about having too many options for character creation. They've also added, as you can see in the video right there, voice types. And probably the coolest addition to character creation is the ability to share your created characters and faces with other players and vice versa. So if you want to play as a certain character from, I don't know, your favorite movie or TV show, you can hop online and see maybe somebody already created it for you. We don't know exactly how they're going to be shared just yet, but they have mentioned the ability to share them. And so personally, I'm hoping for a huge sort of like database online that you can just kind of go shop through, download the characters that you're most interested in, and upload characters of your own. That, to me, would be the best way to do that, but I'm sure they've got something really cool planned as well. Sliding in at number 8, we have more interactions. So in Warband, there really wasn't a lot you could do with allied lords and vassals of your own, other than just sort of tell them, hey, let's go attack here, or hey, would you mind following me? In Bannerlord, they've introduced a influence system where you can spend influence points to get lords to do things for you, whether they be allies, enemies, part of your faction, part of a different faction. You can use your influence to get people to do things you want to do. They've also expanded the different things that you can do with these lords. So for example, you can actually trade fiefs back and forth, which is really cool because before you had to go through this kind of clunky mechanic. Now it's literally just part of the barter system. If you go talk to another lord, your fiefs and all your holdings are right there with all the other items in your inventory that you can trade back and forth. So that's really cool as well. At number 7, we have more to do in towns. So back in Warband, you could walk around any town or village you wanted to, but short of going, hiking through a maze of buildings trying to find the guildmaster, only so he could send you halfway across the world with some cattle, there really wasn't a lot to do in towns or villages. So in Bannerlord, what they've introduced is all sorts of different mechanics, as you'll see here in the video, where you can set up crime operations or like anti-crime operations. You can also walk through, talk to all the different vendors and stuff, which was something that you could do in Warband, albeit it was a little bit rough. And they've really just added a lot of features that will make you actually want to walk around in town, where in Warband it was an option that more or less went ignored. Beyond that, they've added another way to sort of get income through the crime option that we've seen here. So if you want to do sort of a role play as a like bandit type character, now rather than having holdings of your own, which might take you out of your immersion, you can actually just sort of set up black market operations in other people's holdings and make your money that way. Now at number 6 we have better combat commands. This could potentially fit a lot higher up the list depending on just how much they've added, but for now we only know a few of the options have changed. Most importantly, they've added more formation control. They've added the ability to adjust how wide or how narrow your formations are, as well as the general shape of them. We've also got the ability now to change the facing of units, whereas in Warband they would only ever face the enemy directly. Now we can set up different formations in different directions, and I'm really hoping that they add more to that as well. In certain mods for Warband, we've seen the ability to, for example, use Volley Fire, and in my experience, that's really useful for siege battles, which is something we'll talk about later. But I would love to see something like that in Bannerlord as well, and it very well might be. We can't see all of the options yet, so there is still hope. At number 5, we have more settlement options. So back in Warband, when you held a fief, there really wasn't a lot you could do with it. You could upgrade the settlement slightly so that you could, increase your peasants' morale or things like that. But in Bannerlord, they're offering us a lot more options, and they've completely done away with the village versus farm dynamic. Now everything that's not a major city is basically just a settlement, and you decide what it becomes. You have the ability to make castles, build different kinds of farms, even different kinds of stables if you'd rather recruit a heavy European horse rather than a lighter but faster steppe horse. So they're really leaving the settlements in your hands completely. You can change the taxes, very detailed. So I mean, if you want to do 15% versus 20%, you can do that rather than just a low, medium, high type thing. You can allocate how much militia you want produced, or even how fast you want them working on a project, and their morale will raise or lower depending on how hard you work them and how heavily you tax them. So they're really leaving the settlements completely in our hands with this game, and I really love the openness that they've added to this. Next up at number 4, we have improved user interface. Now, the UI can arguably be the most important part of a game, because regardless of how well a game looks or plays, if you can't control it the way you want to control it or do the things that you need to do to play the game effectively, you're not going to enjoy it. And so they've significantly streamlined the UI, first of all, which it looks a lot better, it's a lot cleaner. All the information you need is there without it being clunky or in the way. They've added the ability to see who's present in a town and talk to them directly rather than having to run around and try to find them. They've made it so that you can keep tabs on all your companions. And as we sort of mentioned before, you actually have the ability to do all sorts of new things when you interact with people too, which has been added to the dialogues. So overall, the UI has gotten a major facelift and a major streamlining that makes it even better to look at, but also better to use and interact with. At number 3, we have one of the most intriguing features added to the game, which is custom weapon crafting. Now, this is a nice addition, but maybe not the most important to the game. It's still really cool, and I'm sure a lot of you are excited for it. I know I am. But basically what they've done here is they've allowed you the option to put together several different pieces of weapons in a very modular system that lets you customize things from the blade to the handles. For swords, you can change the hilt. With all of the different weapons, you can adjust how long they are, so you can customize the reach of the particular weapon you want while still getting sort of the look and feel that you're going for. We also can see that they have added the ability to not only do swords, both one-handed and two-handed variety, but axes as well. And we've also seen them show the ability to make custom polearms and throwing weapons, which is a really nice addition because those tend to get kind of overlooked. I haven't seen anything about bows or ranged weapons beyond. throwing weapons yet, but it would be cool to see bows added in as well, although that might be a little bit more difficult to do. One thing to note about the weapon crafting system is based on the wording that they use, it's sort of implied that you are going to have to go out and find these pieces in different areas. So when you defeat some bandits, you may come across a new type of blade or hilt for your sword, or if you go to some far-off land, you might find that they make their spearheads slightly differently. So you'll see different weapons in different areas, and as you visit them, you'll be able to expand your arsenal and customize the weapons you want. Now in the video, I think they have it unlocked for the demo to show off all the different stuff. I don't know that we'll have access to everything all at once. I do believe that you have to unlock them individually, but that hasn't been confirmed yet, so don't quote me on that. Coming in at number 2, we have Revamped Siege Battles. So this is one that you guys are probably all aware of because everybody saw the video from E3, I would imagine. If you're watching this one, you more than likely have. So they've completely redone Siege Battles and made them look absolutely incredible. We now have a full range of siege weapons at our disposal. You can control them and aim them yourself. They're all fully functioning, unlike in Warband where we had like ladders or siege towers that were sort of on a track. Now we have siege towers that actually move around and can be placed in different areas. We have battering rams that actually batter down gates, and we have I think ballista we've seen as well, and some sort of catapult or onager that can bust down the walls, and you have a whole arsenal of options to get into castles now, which is absolutely amazing. They've also added the commander's horse into siege battles, so you can actually ride around on horseback and sort of direct your troops rather than being a foot soldier that just kind of gets lost in the melee. I really like that addition as well. It gives you the option, if you want to just ditch your horse at the beginning of the battle, you can totally do that. But for those of us that want to play a little bit more general type character, it's nice to be able to kind of sit back, ride around, and survey the battlefield while we issue orders. They've also added destructible environments, as we can see right there. You can bust down the gates, like I mentioned before. You can also smash down walls. I believe they've confirmed the ability to completely breach walls, which is really, really good to hear, because that's something that I would love to be able to do if they've got the walls just like so heavily manned that you can't get in, you know, just pound them down rather than trying to fight your way over the top of them. Also, for the defenders, they've added a couple things to make defending castles a little bit easier, because that's the point of a castle, to be more defensible. As we can see, the murder holes going on right here, people dropping fire pots on their heads, and I'm just really, really excited to actually get into the siege battles, where in Warband they kind of got a little bit tedious. In Bannerlord, they look like they might end up being the main attraction as far as battles are concerned. Alright, and my number 1 new feature or addition to Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord is the improved game engine. So this kind of goes without saying, but I mean, regardless of what you think is really cool that they've added, none of it could be done without a better game engine. Warband's game engine was very old and very limited. The new engine for Bannerlord is much improved, and that's going to give us significantly better graphics, which isn't, you know, the most important thing, but everybody loves better graphics, better lighting, better animations, smoother animations, and most important in my book, better physics. As we can see in the combat going on here, when the horses bump into each other, they actually kind of jostle around now. Stuff kind of bounces up over the top. You can actually see horses kind of fall in realistic ways and go over infantry in realistic ways. No more of the instances from Warband where you T-bone an enemy horse or a friendly horse and come to a complete stop dead in your tracks. Now you kind of bounce off or bounce the other horse off out of the way. And overall, I just think it's going to make combat so much more fun, because now you don't have these like awkward animations and things where you're hitting a empty clipping plane and your sword's stopping even though there's nothing actually there that you can see. You don't run into concrete walls that aren't there on horseback anymore. And I just think the engine is going to add so much to the possibilities of this game, more so than any one individual feature could. And so that's why that's my number 1. Let me know what you guys think of my list and what your top 10 would be in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you guys back here for our next look at Mount & Blade 2 Bannerlord.